Hello to everyone who is joining.
Hi,
Hello.
Stacey. Hi, Lucy. So this is the group. This is the group from the USA. Yeah, great. So I'm from the USA Trade Hub, and I'll be the co-moderator for this session. So yeah, welcome on stage, Lucy. Here's Stacey. Introduce yourself and ask your question. Thank you.
All right. Hi, Stacey. I'm Lucy Leah, and I'm representing Zato Arts and Crafts. We deal with local artisans across the nation in Malawi. And mainly we have a range of products, anything which is handcrafted, we deal in it, we collect. But I think my question today is, we are still small, we are still new, and obviously we are exploring into exporting. And you talked a lot about maybe how do we cost and how we price our products. So I think one thing I'm having a challenge with is the shipping prices in Malawi. They are quite high. So I would like to find out how can we still remain competitive regardless of the fact that maybe our shipping costs are a bit high. And then also, how do I maintain good pricing to compete on the international scenery? So I think that's the first thing I would want to learn from you.
Yeah, that is, those are some great questions. I think the first question, I would actually back it up and start with the pricing, because I think that is a vital thing that you need to understand. So I just shared the link to the calculator. I highly recommend taking each product and running it through the calculator, trying to figure out, what is your material cost, what is your labor cost, and then what is the margin that you need, right? So that you can run a sustainable business. And it's gonna differ depending on how many pieces you make. Being new, right? One thing that a lot of artisans do, they're like, oh, this cost me so much to make, 10 of these baskets. Well, okay, what would it cost you though? How could your material costs come down if you were making an order of 50 or an order of 100? So work on figuring out those costs so that you have that information to go to buyers and say, hey, yeah, well, this is the basket if you want to buy 20, but this is the basket if you want to buy 50 or if you want to buy 100 or 200, because as that cost comes down, it's going to be more worth to ship it, right? Tell me a little bit about your shipping choices in Malawi. Do you have DHL, air freight? What are your choices?
Yes, we have DHL, and then we also have the air freight. I haven't yet explored on the shipping by sea, so I think I don't really have an idea. But I think the main ones are through air freight and DHL.
Yeah, and being new, you're probably not going to ship anything by sea at this point. Air freight and DHL are going to be the best. So here's what I highly recommend. If there is, and again, I don't know enough, I've worked a lot in Zambia, but not in Malawi, so I haven't crossed over. If there is a group of you, right, a group of artisan businesses, and actually ask the Trade Hub to help you with this. This is something that they are well equipped to do. But get a group of artisans to go sit down with DHL and say, hey, listen, can you give us a discounted per kg price, right? And oftentimes they'll give you a box price that is a special discount for an association of you, right? You can say, we're looking to build up this business.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, and buyers really do appreciate being able to get a discounted DHL rate. So that we worked a lot with DHL. We had several small producers who weren't in a place to get all their goods together at once, right? And they didn't have the timing coordinated quite well enough to collaborate and get things sent in one air freight shipment. So we used DHL, but DHL really provided those artisans with a nice discounted rate that made it possible for buyers to yeah, afford those products, because that is a problem. When shipping adds so much to the cost, it makes it so much more expensive to the end consumer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome.
No, thanks so much, Stacey. That was
So
really
we put
helpful.
it to the Trade Hub to help you with that as well. Sorry about that.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I'll be on Douglas.
We'll do that. Let me ask the other suppliers. I can see we have 13 people watching us. Please ask to share audio and video so that you can come on stage and ask some questions to Stacey. We'll not be able to hear you if you're not.
Okay.
Yeah, you can leave. Go and ask other buyers, please.
Thanks, Lucy.
Okay, thank you so much, Lucy.
Thank you.
Great. I see Namupa joining. Thank you for joining us on stage. Introduce yourself and ask your question to Stacey. Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, hi. My name is Nampa Nengola. I am from Namibia. We are a small family business that produces marula oil. And we're very new. This is our, I think, 3rd year in processing and manufacturing marula oil. But my question to you, Stacey, is similar to, was it Lucy who asked the previous question? It's shipping. Shipping is very, very expensive in Namibia. And being a small business and new, most of the people whom we are interacting with are interested in samples, and maybe, our marula oil comes in like, bottles like this, 100 ml and 50 ml. So shipping the customers will end up paying for more on shipping than on the actual product. So that is the biggest challenge we have. But the other challenge is also we get a lot of inquiry on samples. How do we handle that? Because in the end, many of the prospective customers will ask for maybe us to cover the shipping cost for the sample, and then they add up. If you ship 20, 30 samples, it gets very expensive. So that is my question. But generally also, like, how do we, marula oil is very, very good product, but we are struggling to get in contact with the buyers and customers, especially international, because that is where we are, planning to go. Thank you.
Those are phenomenal questions. The first thing I will say about samples is you cannot pay for samples. You have to or at least you can't pay for the shipping of samples, right? As buyers, we will do whatever policy the group gives. So have a policy and have it written. Here's our sampling policy, right? One thing I really recommend, because your product is a cosmetic product, right, is a natural cosmetic product, is come up with a sample kit. I don't know if do you only sell the one, the bottled marula, or are there other products in your line?
Yeah, we have it's all marula, but we have marula for like skin, we have massage oil, and then we have hair oil. So we package it currently in 100 ml. 100 ml in the US is like 3.38 ounces. So we have, and then is it 1.69 ounces? So we currently just package it in those, but I would like to let you continue and finish what you were suggesting.
What you could do is get some very small sample sizes, right? Get some very small sample sizes and send buyers. You may even be able to use, you may be able to use the mail if you do a small enough bubble envelope with just small sample sizes, enough for them to test your product. Now, they also are going to want to see your labeling. So, but you can send a flat label. So that way you're sending enough for them to test the product. You're sending the label so that they can see the presentation and they can obviously see your pictures, but you're not investing as much. You might be able to cover the shipping and the sample on something of that size. If they want a full size sample, then you're going to have to ask them to pay for it and pay for the shipping, because it's just too big a hit to your business. Yeah. What I also suggest is if you can get out to a show or things like that, obviously not right now during COVID, but having samples at a show that somebody can take away at a trade show, whether that's SARCTA or any of the other shows that you could possibly attend in Southern Africa once that starts again, having physical samples that people can walk away with also helps buyers both remember you and not need to ship something later.
All right. Thank you, Stacey.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Thanks.
So much. I would like to ask other suppliers. I can see we have 15 people watching us. Please come on stage, ask to share video and audio, and then I'll let you on stage so that you can ask your questions to Stacey. If you're struggling, please type your questions in the chat, and then we're going to read them out and respond. Stacey is going to respond. Please, please, please join us on stage. Don't miss this opportunity. I see there, Francis, thank you for helping. Abby Connect, can you refresh your browser and then try again? We should be able to allow you on stage. I saw Chifuno, there's a Pottery. Do you have any questions, or simply type in the chat if you can't come on stage? Okay, so Stacey, as we're waiting for people to come on stage, we're talking about quality, costing and quality. How do these go together, and how do you make sure that you achieve a high value in terms of pricing, but you're also presenting a product to the customer that meets the quality? How would you balance that, and what are the quality dimensions, the main basic quality dimensions that you're looking at?
Yeah, I think when it comes to quality, what you really need to have in place is a process, right? So many people say, oh yes, my quality is good. But as you are growing your business and doing orders where you're adding volume, so you have a bunch of different producers, artisans making the same product, as we know, there can be variations, right? So one thing you want to do is be sure that the colors that you're using, perhaps the business should supply, say you're, again, doing basketry. The business should do the dyeing in one place and distribute so that the colors are all going to be the same. We can go back to this question. Let's let ABI Connect ask us.
So, welcome on stage, Abby Connect. Please introduce yourselves and ask your questions to Stacey. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Douglas. This is AB Connect. The question on.
You need to get closer to the mic. There is some echo.
Yes. Yeah. Our question is on. First question is on production. We have been incapacitated by the pandemic, so we really need some support for us to do the best work we can do. And the other issue is on shipping. It means to meet the cost of shipping, we need us to be having some money to do that. So I don't know how you can help us on issues of shipping so that we don't carry the burden on our shoulders.
Yeah, I think shipping. So was the first issue market access?
Hello?
I think the first issue was on production. They lost production capacity due to the pandemic, and then on shipping. So please take a first step, then I can come on the production and the support that maybe they might be looking for. Thank you.
Yeah, and can you tell me again which country you're in?
Okay, so we are in Zambia, Livingstone, and I'm happy to hear that you work in Zambia already. So this is the Kukuni and Victoria studio.
It's kind of hard to hear, but I think you said Zambia. Zambia?
Correct.
Okay, great. So I think that in Zambia, you've got a couple of good shipping options. Again, what I advised earlier was that it really pays off to go and sit down with DHL and have a conversation about getting a shared rate. One, I don't know if you're involved right now with Prospero, but Prospero in Zambia is really working with artisans to try and get a more a better shipping rate. The other company that I highly recommend in Zambia that I've had good success with getting things out of Mfwe and other more remote places is McSpeedy's. I don't know if you've worked with them, but they can offer a pretty good courier rate. As far as production capacity in the pandemic, I think it's really difficult. One of the, I'm not sure because I can't hear you that well, if your issue is that your artisans aren't available or that sales have dropped. And so therefore you don't have the sales you need during the pandemic. One of the things I highly recommend is increasing the amount of touches or connections you're having with your buyers. It's a great time to reach out to buyers and tell them what's going on in your business, how you're struggling, how COVID-19 has impacted your business, what's going on with your producers, and also sharing new products, right? The more we can communicate with each other, the more business you're actually going to get. So I think that is a really important thing that you can do. If the problem is you've lost producers, I'm not sure exactly what the reasoning is. So I'd have to kind of know the reasoning behind that.
Okay.
Edgar?
It is really, really hard to hear you. I am sorry. I'm also going to put my email in the chat for anyone who wants to connect after. I would be more than happy to set up a time to Zoom and chat directly as well.
Okay, that would be great.
Great. Let's have a question from Andrew. Then after that, Mushushu, you can ask your question. Andrew, any question from you?
Yes, hi, Stacey. Andrew from Similar Belts. We make for both retailers, larger ones and then smaller ones, and we have mostly in South trying to get into the States, and I suppose it's more about storage. If there's any volume capacity, what is your take on being able to store goods for distribution? Because to my mind, it might be an idea to go straight to the online market rather than going through all the other stuff, and basically looking at niche products that are unique to our country. For example, like ostrich belts and things like that. We source from farm-reared ostrich, which we think is an ethical way of farming. I suppose it depends on whether you're a vegan or a vegetarian and which side of the spectrum you are on. But we generally do leather belts. And I've been to the Magic Trade Fair a couple of times on the West Coast in Las Vegas, which was very informative, but very difficult to find the right people to sell to. I either had, generally I had people with 1 or 2 stores in the States, which is a very difficult thing to deal with, as you were talking about earlier with the costing model. It just blows it out of the water. So you need to find people that are doing, I would say, bigger volumes. So yeah, I'd just love to get your take on that and which channels you think we should approach.
Yeah. Now, when you say storage, is that thinking about having storage or distribution, say, in the United States, or are you talking more about in South Africa?
No, more in the US, yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So there's a couple different things. The first thing I will say, not having seen your brand, but seeing your logo, you have an opportunity in the Western states, right? So I have got a Western horseback riding daughter who owns 2 horses, and all the shows we go to, all the events we go to are filled with leather goods, right? I am a vegetarian, but I'm not anti-leather. I've got a leather bag sitting right next to me. So I do think that for your type of product, and again, I'd have to take a look, but I'm guessing that you'd really fit in some of that that horse culture, Western culture that we have here in the States really, really well. And I can try and send you a couple ideas of shows for that if you send me an email. The other thing, though, about storage in the United States, this is a big question. I think if you want to start hitting consumers directly through online sales, it is really important to come up with a plan to store goods in the U.S. That's a commitment on your part, right? You are having to invest in that inventory and decide what you think is going to sell the best, but having product on hand that can be delivered quickly is great. I do know a couple of different companies in the fair trade sector. One of them particularly, Mbari, who works a lot in Zimbabwe, actually has warehousing space and is opening that up as a new option for producers who want to stock their own goods, sell their own goods, but have that fulfillment in the States without, you can also have, there are a lot of contract fulfillment centers, but they can cost a lot and they don't necessarily understand artisan. The one thing I would say is start small with that, start slow, test, because obviously shipping goods back to yourself, I have shipped goods back to Africa and you don't want to do it, right? So know that whatever stock you invest in putting in the States, you're willing to also discount out if you want to sell it down. But I do think it's a good option. Fulfilled by Amazon is one way to do that as well, but I haven't seen a lot of artisans have a lot of success with that. I've seen a lot of artisans have a lot of success selling directly on Etsy and really learning the tools of Etsy, like using Marmalade for your long tail keywords to get people to your product, and then warehousing with, it can also be a friend or family member who's willing to stock some of your goods while you test that out.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's that.
Awesome. We probably only have time for one more question.
Sure. So we have Mosusu on stage. Please go ahead with your question. I think we're running out of time, so just ask your question. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much,
the link,
Mr.
dropped there. But thanks very much for that, Stacey. I'll drop you an email. Thank you.
Great. Go ahead.
Okay. I was saying, you emphasize that as a producer, I should know where I am in terms of the production and in terms of the infrastructure. And I've never been in US, but what I've been told is the big market for a small person like myself who's producing about 500 bags per month. So in those cases, what the market that maybe that we can say that I can look for?
Yeah, so your product is baskets? Is that what you said?
No, it's the leather bags.
Oh, leather belts. Yeah.
Yeah, here we are. I think we produce leather bags, the wallets.
Oh, leather bags. Okay.
Yeah, the wallets and the bags, So that is the handbags. Actually, we do leather bags. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Full leather bags. Yeah.
I like that woven leather. I mean, I think there are a few markets. One thing I really highly recommend right now during COVID, in the past, I would say maybe you want to check out Artisan Resource at New York Now. New York Now is a big show for handmade gifts, as well as the handmade section of the Las Vegas market. But as you know, right now that's not what we're doing, right? We're having COVID. And so it's an opportunity for you to on Pinterest or Instagram, different brands in the US that you think your goods are a fit for. Who do you see selling other things?
That one is one thing that has been difficult for me because I'm sitting here. I never have a connection with those brands in US. The one that I know is the normal brands like Tommy Hilfiger and the Polo and so on.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah,
those are yeah. So yeah. So the smaller brands I don't have, which is I think maybe a USAID can assist us to do what I call market intelligence for specific products. So I don't know, maybe, can you able to assist in that regard, or USAID, can you chip in onto this one?
Yeah.
To do market intelligence for us, who are the small guys who are not that big, because it's hard actually to get through the big brands.
I'm gonna tell you
because when you go to the internet.
Yeah, the first place you wanna look for the people who really care about artisan craft is the Fair Trade Federation in the United States, FTF. Okay. The Fair Trade Federation is a group of over 200 small to medium-sized businesses, and some large businesses, I shouldn't say all small, in the United States who particularly focus on handmade. And so that is a really great place for you to start. There's some other larger fair trade brands, including Noonday Collection. Noonday?
Or maybe then I'm gonna email you, and then so that you can just list all those federations or all those trades that I should connect.
Yes,
with. Keep on going on, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We can help you. The buying team and USAID Trade Hub can definitely help kind of put together some things you should look at. I also highly recommend going on Pinterest. If you don't have a Pinterest account, it's a great way to get inspiration of what people in the US are buying and some of those brands. I am just Stacey Edgar on Pinterest, and I have a board called Fair Trade Fashion Friends on my Pinterest where I share the products of a lot of other brands. That might be a good place to take a look as well.
Okay.
We've run out of time. Sorry.
Okay, but thank you so much.
I know it's interesting. We have so many questions, but we have run out of time. Maybe no Monday, you've been sitting here for some time. Just 30 seconds for you. I know you have typed some questions. We have taken care of those. We'll forward them to Stacey, but 30 seconds for you.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I think my main concern was what he said about how do we identify the buyers for our specific products. Yeah. So like you said, that maybe the USA, they can put up together maybe a catalog where we can see and identify our products with the buyers. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, and I will talk to all of them, and I will also, again, if you're not using Pinterest, I will actually put together a new board that has some companies you could click through. I'll come up with a name with it, and I'll share what it is with USAID. That's a really good way to go and spy on who you might want to sell to.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Just to note,
that's a good idea.
Thank you. So Stacey has put her email in the chat there. Please get hold of that and try to engage with her. Send her an email and let her send back all the items she has promised. Let me humbly request you to return to the plenary. Thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate it. I can see all the three suppliers are from Malawi. Big up Malawi, the home heart of Africa.
Go to Malawi, it looks like.
Okay, let's meet in the plenary. Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. Thank you.